everyone, and welcome. In the past, I've made a number of studies of different languages, most notably Spanish, with a number of videos all in Spanish, as well as Esperanto by studying a textbook of Esperanto, and German by reading poems between German and their English translations. More on those will be coming soon. Today, instead, I wanted to do a little bit more of a dive into a language that I know relatively little about. I've had years of studying Spanish and considerably less, but still a little bit of Esperanto and German. But Czech is a language of which I know very little. I've had a little bit of exposure to it by way of watching travel programs to Czechia, or as it's formally known, the Czech Republic. I also have a little bit of awareness of Czech as a language from knowing a little bit of Polish from family heritage. And I know that Czech is a language that is quite similar, though not perfectly intelligible by any means, with Polish. So as a way to confuse myself a little bit and dive deep into an area of the world that I have a little bit of knowledge, but not a lot, I wanted to give an introduction to what I've learned so far of the Czech language. Now, obviously, I have this textbook in front of me. I found this at a used book sale several months back, which is the same for many of the books that I have shown over this year. This is a textbook from the 1940s, so around 70 to 80 years old. Though from what I have seen so far in the first couple of lessons, the information that we have in this textbook is relatively up to date. Today, I want to focus on a couple of important first things to learn about the language. That being, one, a brief history of the language as far as I know it. Two, the foundation of learning the language, the alphabet. And three, go through a number of vocabulary examples to walk through an understanding of how to put the alphabet in action. So to start off, Czech is a Slavic language, which is the branch of the Indo-European language family, stretching primarily within the continent of Europe, as well as down into the Indian subcontinent, and stretching through former colonial powers into Africa, Australia and Oceania, and North and South America. The Slavic portion, however, is primarily focused in Central and Eastern Europe, as well as the areas of influence of Central and Eastern Europe, primarily the Russian ethnically inhabited and governmentally controlled areas of Asian Russia. Of the Slavic family, Czech is part of the West Slavic community, meaning that it is related to Polish, which is the largest of the languages in that language family branch. And along with Polish, it forms a dialect continuum of sorts, with itself in the Czech Republic, or Czechia, and the eastern portion in Slovakia. At one time, up until 1993, Czechia and Slovakia were one country, the former Czechoslovakia. And it's tempting to think, with the dialect continuum, that these languages, Czech and Slovak, are one and the same. But there are significant differences, and not just those that were developed in the last 30 years, or even before then. It's more accurate to say that Czech and Slovak are two definite ends of the continuum, but that have multiple influences in the middle. Primarily the differentiation between Bohemian in the western portion of Czechia, Moravian in the eastern portion, and Silesian, which is in the northeastern Czechia and northwestern Slovakia, along the border with Poland, and forming another partial dialect continuum stretching northward into Poland. So Czechoslovak as a language has only really existed as a political idea. And they are two separate languages in terms of what we now think of them as, and have thought of them as for quite a while. So today, based off of my personal focus and the focus of this textbook, we will be focusing on the Czech, primarily focused on Bohemian with influence from Moravian as well. I've spent a lot of time on this page showing a improvised map here, but the real focus and why I've opened to this page is to see this alphabet, which we won't be going to in the direct order, because there is a much more natural way of exploring the orthography, the spelling of Czech as I have seen it. We're going to be focusing first on the vowels of the language, which are roughly in the same place that you would expect the vowels based off of English, but with some significant differences. We'll start off with the simplest, which is also the vowel that we have here in this lesson 1. We have ah. We have the letter A, which in Czech can be written 2 ways. Ah and ah. The major difference between these two is the length of the vowel. This is a short ah, and this ah with the accent mark is a long ah. This accent mark is going to come up in all of the vowels that we have. It's present on all of them as a way to differentiate between short and long vowels in Czech. Next, we advance a little bit to E, which is a vowel that exists somewhat as a diphthong in English. This A, a very right A vowel. For Canadian and Northern American, along the border with Canada, accents, this is stereotypicalized as the A vowel of EH, but without so much of the Y at the end that exists. Again, we have a short versus long differentiation, so we have A and A, E and A. But we also have this third variation, which is the letter E with a hot check. That's what this up and down, well, down and up diacritic is called. And this represents our first instance of palatization, the formal term for when you have a little Y before the vowel or after a consonant. So this means ye or ye. So like yes or piena, ye. E, ye. Similarly, O and U also have 3, well, 2.5 or 3.5 ways of being written. For O, we can have the short long split, all and all. But we also have this O, which is written as O-U. This sound is the one that English speakers, both Americans and Canadians, as well as former and current Commonwealth countries, would expect from their O's. The O with a drop at the end to make it a more enclosed vowel. O, like hope. In contrast, speakers of non-English languages are more likely to be familiar with this vowel, which is the more broad, open O, which doesn't have the drop at the end like in English. So O and O. Obe and door. O, O. U maintains having the short and long oo difference. Oo and oo. O and oo. But unlike the other examples we saw with E and O, highlighting a different, fundamentally different sound with their third symbol, oo, with this little ring above it, does the same thing as the oo with a line above it. They're both the long form. Ooh, 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 ooh. The only difference, really, is that the oo with an accent is present when the long oo is at the start of a word. So we can see in this example, if we can actually focus, we have usta, usta. The long U is at the beginning of the word, so it has an accent. By contrast, in stool, stool, the U is not at the beginning of the word, and so it has a ring above it. There are a couple of exceptions to this rule, but most of what I have seen, in fact all of what I have seen, is that in foreign words, so words not originally of Czech origin, when the oo is long, it will still be, and it is not at the direct beginning of the word, it will still be written with this accent mark and not with the ring. So, in almost all cases, short oo, long oo at the beginning of a word, usta, long oo at the middle or end of a word, stol, domu. And lastly, to complicate things further, we're going to cover 4 vowels that are really 2 vowels, but they're 4 vowels. So we have the I with the accent, the Y, and the Y with an accent. These letters without accents make the same sound, an I and I, which is similar to the I in English, like it or bit or with. But it's a little bit more back in the throat compared to the English version, I. And these accented forms, E and E, are the same long E. E, as in police, meat. Now you may be wondering, why, if you have the same sound, do you have it written in two different ways? And that is because these letters have rules to where they can appear in Czech words. And from here, we introduce the consonants to explain. Like many languages, including English, but much more strongly in Czech, Czech has a system of soft and hard consonants. These are consonants that really lend themselves to be palatized more versus those that are the hardest to palatize, the hardest to make y-e versus the easiest to make y-e. And if you can tell by the coloring that I have added to the accents and to these flashcards, you can tell that I and E as eyes are relevant to the soft vowel, soft consonants. And these are the soft, short, and long E. By contrast, in blue, we have short, hard, and short, hard, and long, hard. E and E relating to the hard consonants. Starting with the soft consonants, we have a number that are written with haczeks. For those that are familiar with Polish, these would typically be written with kreskas, with accent marks, or with z's, or in different ways as well. So we have C with a haczek, which is ch, like chip or cheese. S with a haczek is sh, like sheep or shill. Z with a haczek is zh, like measure or pleasure. R with a kreska, with a haczek, is the most stereotypical and difficult consonant to pronounce. It is zh, like Dvorak, the famous composer, or Bedřich Smetana, another Czech composer. It is very similar to the zh of pleasure. And in fact, in many cases, it does sound like the zh in pleasure, but the genuine zh sound adds a little buzzy the r that English speakers are used to from R to the sound of the zh. This definitely takes practice. And I credit my history with Polish for teaching me. I'm gonna skip ahead to nya. Nya, like canyon for the N with the haczek. And then we have two letters that are written with haczeks in capital form, but not in lowercase, where instead they're written as D with an apostrophe or T with an apostrophe. Those are j, j, and ch, ch. These are like Jew or June, that palatized j, d, y, j as a sound, or t, y, ch, like tune. And lastly, we have ts. The C is a ts sound. Again, similar to Polish, like sits or meets. And finally, the most soft vowel of them, soft consonant of them all, palatization itself, y. The J makes the y sound and never the ch. So these nine consonants are to be followed by I's, with a slight exception in that when the D, the T, and the N are followed by an I in their palatized forms, they will lose the hot check or the apostrophe. So if you have a j with an e, it will still be written d, e, maintaining the accent here, but with the palatization implied. On the other hand, you have the hard Y, I, and E that goes along with these hard consonants. Those of you who are familiar with Polish or German or Scottish Gaelic or Irish Gaelic will recognize this CH as ch, the tough, throaty ch, or sometimes ch or ch if pushed back enough in the throat or if trilled. The normal h, typical of English, still exists though, as do k in K, d in D, t in T, n in N, and g in G. Though in real life these are pronounced differently as ka, ha, cha, de, te, en, and ge. And lastly, we have r. This is not the typical English r, but a flipped r, or sometimes for dramatic effect, a rolled r, which I cannot do. Speakers of non-English languages the world over will know this sound. You may notice that there are a number of consonants that are missing that are typical in English, but aren't in either of these soft or hard sets. They still exist, but the rules of I, and Y don't apply to them. I and Y can follow all of these consonants without having to be restricted in any way. So we have B, S. Ooh. These are moving around. Z, V, F, L, M, and P. All of which can be followed by either the I or the Y form of I and E. So to recap, I, and E can follow either a soft consonant or a neutral consonant, but never a hard consonant, unless it is covering for the palatalization of a D, a T, or an N, or if it's a non-native Czech word. And I and E as Y can follow a hard consonant or a neutral consonant, but never a soft consonant unless you come across the same exceptions. And those are the letters of the Czech alphabet as I learned them. And I hope that you are able to appreciate the organization of how the orthography changes the function of how sounds interact with each other in Czech words. But I would be remiss to do so without showing some examples. Taking from a couple of the early lessons, we have kabat, coat, dar, a gift or present, dama, a lady, zahrada, a garden, salam, sausage, chlad, hunger, Praha, Prague, the capital of the Czech Republic, or Czechia. Slaba, weak, mlada, young. lid, ice, mid, honey, zase, again, ten, this or that, ale, but, or however. Mleko, milk. Zlato, gold. Maslo, butter. Kostel, church. Slovo, word. Sedlak, a farmer. Husa, a goose. Oruka, hand. Uloha, a lesson or exercise. Sul, salt. Doom, a house. Pulak, a $50. Dnes, today. Tu, o, zde, here. For practicing I, we have sin, a son. Seed, cheese. Mlin, a mill. Me, we, plural. Bidlim, I live right well. Mocha, flower. Koholt, rooster. Inkolst, ink. Vols, beard or whisker. Blusa, a blouse. Yaroslav, Jerry. Jezero, lake. Nadobi, dishes. Otec, father. Cifla, a brick. Cebule, onion, imeno, name, nemoc, illness, klíč, key, strýček, uncle, článek, article, čas, time, špína, dirt, kašel, a cough, háček, hook, mark, or the caret symbol, míč, a ball, večer, evening, železo, iron, kůže, skin or leather, žije, I live, write well, šeje, I sew, žába, frog, tužka, pencil, chleb, bread, kruh, circle, chyba, mistake or error, Czech, a Czech man, pavok, a spider, koj, smoke, morze, a sea or an ocean, zvíře, animal, lékař, a doctor or a physician, pekař, a baker, přítel, a friend, dveře, doors, hospodář, the master of the house or farm, dobře, well, as in doing well, and lastly, for our palatals, diabel, devil, zeď, wall. Chuť, taste. Šťáva, juice. Pišťála, a whistle. Daň, tax. Šňůra, a string. Pilzeň, Pilzeň. Pilsen, the city in Bohemia where Pilsner beer is brewed. Voňavka, perfume. Příliš, too, also. Teď, now. With that vocabulary covered, I think that takes us to where I wanted to cover, and as much as I know currently about Czech. Once I get a little bit more handle of the grammar of the language and being able to compare it to what I know about Polish, then I'll be able to continue. And we will be able to jump back in to this textbook. Thank you all for watching this far and to join me in learning how to pronounce words in Czech. Thank you all. So to those who have subscribed to me and who continue to watch my videos continually, thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day.